Hello fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. Today I'm reviewing Unhinged. This was directed by Derek Borte and stars Russell Crowe, Karen Pistore, Gabriel Bateman and a variety of others. The film begins with the introduction of the man, as he's known in the film, played by Russell Crowe, and we see him unleash anger and violence. Then from him we're introduced to Rachel, played by Karen Pistore, who's a woman going through a divorce, and she's looking after a teenage son. She's also struggling with issues that are going on with her mother, who's been put into a home. These two different characters and worlds collide due to the decisions she makes on her way to taking her son to school and trying to get to her job. And subsequently what follows is a cat and mouse chase, where it's really him going after her and her flipping the tables on him and trying to overcome him and stop him before it's too late. This was a film I was initially not that interested in due to the lack of movies in the cinema. I decided to check it out. Look, there's a lot of potential here. I think the director's done a solid job, and I think the writer Cole Ellsworth is a solid writer. He'd previously written Disturbia and Red Eye, and these two films I really enjoyed. But this feels like I was missing something. This wasn't as good as those two movies. It just felt a bit hollow. And the motivation behind why the man he becomes so violent and targets her is unclear throughout the film. The acting is solid. I think Russell Crowe is solid with what he's got. We don't know a lot about him, but we learn little bits and pieces. But he's an intimidating driving force of the film in many ways. Karen Pistorius is really solid here. I think she's probably the best thing about this film. This woman, you know, trying to protect her son and her family against this crazy guy and trying to outsmart him at every turn and trying to take control of the situation she feels she has no control over. I think she's solid here. Gabriel Bateman plays her teenage son, and I think he does a solid job as well. He has some good moments through the film. The aspects of the movie I enjoyed was Russell Crowe's performance, even though there wasn't a lot to him. Karen Pistorius, there's some car chases I really enjoyed, all the stuff where he's chasing her or she's trying to evade him. I really liked that. I thought that was well done. There are great moments within those sort of scenes of car crashes and a variety of things that happen and how she tries to outsmart him. I like the relentlessness of the pace and relentlessness of his character, of keep coming after her and he keeps popping up in places. I kind of like that. It's like this unmovable force that keeps coming for her and she can't escape it. Much like a slasher film where the killer keeps coming after the heroine. There are some great little twists and turns in the film. There's some great moments where she sort of does outsmart him in the smallest of ways, and it's really well shot, those particular sequences, especially the last 10-15 minutes of the film. It's a type of film you really just need to shut your brain off and watch, and that's kind of what it is. Now, the things I didn't like about it, I thought it was overly violent in parts that didn't need to be, and then in other parts it wasn't as much as it could be. I felt that the man character that Russell Crowe plays, there's not really a lot of depth to him. We don't really see much of who he is, and his real motivation behind what he does isn't clear, and who he is as a person isn't clear. I didn't really know what this film was trying to tell me, what it was trying to say. There were so many things in it, but it just felt like it just touched on things without really going into it. There's a lot of things that you can see that they came up with to create suspense of disbelief, like the idea that the cops never seem to be around. He always does certain things for the cops to be elsewhere, but it just feels like they're just writing that in the script to why they're not there. How he keeps finding her isn't clear as well. It's revealed throughout the film, but it just feels like he just sort of pops up when she least expects it and finds him in random ways. Just sort of looming there and trying to harass her. And the motivation behind why he starts killing people isn't really clear. It just feels like they're saying he's a psycho and this is what he does, but it isn't really clear. There's just too many inconsistencies with the film. You go in, it's exactly what I expected it to be, but I just felt there's a lot of potential here. They could expand on who he was and what was going on. Maybe we didn't need the start bit where he saw what he did. Maybe we just needed to see him appear and there's all these news reports throughout the thing. It looks at road rage in a way, and I know there are people who react to road rage in a violent way, but this just felt extreme. It felt goofy in parts. The ending was a little anticlimactic for the whole film and the character, but I did like aspects of that. I thought the Rachel character was very strong, and it showed how strong she could be, and how, even though everything was going on, she could still think clearly and still work out what she needed to do to protect her and her family, and especially her son, and how to outwit this ultimate psycho and stop him once and for all. Overall, if you like a sort of good thrillery action film, this is definitely for you, but if you're looking for something with a bit more depth, this just doesn't have the depth that I think it could have. Final thoughts. At the essence, I don't really know what this film was trying to tell me. Was it a story about road rage and extremeness of what happens during road rage to people? Was it the fact that you shouldn't be rude to people or treat people badly because you don't know what's going on in their lives and they can react in a violent way? Or was it saying that sometimes people feel invisible and they feel they don't have any way of expressing things, so it comes out in violence? They feel insignificant, they feel quiet in the corner. His character sort of feels like this, like a representation of violence and retribution. He even says that in the film. He talks about how he's violence and retribution, and so he inflicts this. It's like he's a mechanism, like he's some sort of weapon rather than a character. And that's sort of what I got for it, but is that what they're saying? But it just seems a bit confusing, convoluted, and it isn't quite clear what they were going for with this film. I'm going to give Unhinged 3 out of 5. I thought it was interesting. It was a fine and entertaining film for an hour and a half, but there wasn't a lot to it and I felt disappointed only in the end. Anyway, that's all for me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit subscribe down the bottom. Follow me on Facebook. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.